مصلحا ومجددا فارنوا بنظر طاهر وجنان.
Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, with us today we have our beloved brother Abdul Karim Sahib. And today we will hear how he accepted the true Islam, Ahmadiyya. Assalamu Alaikum, dear brother.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, brother Abdul Karim, can you please narrate your journey on how you found the true Islam, Ahmadiyya?
Very good. I would like to thank you for interviewing me. Hopefully, it will be something that the younger people can listen to and be inspired by. Anyway, I would like to start from my childhood. From my childhood, I was born in the state of Mississippi on a sharecropper's farm, and I used to look at the stars, the birds flying, the clouds, and all of those type things, and they were just, I just didn't understand, how these type things was happening around me, but I was very interested. Now, naturally, being in the South, there was no Islam, but my mother and father, they was Baptist. So there's a period during that time where you go to the church. In other words, you really become one that is seeking, to become a part of the congregation. I just more or less kind of faked mine because, in other words, I had never really been serious about the religion itself because I had seen so much hypocrisy that I was looking, say, for something that was really pure. So what happened is that my brother that had been in the military, he moved to Chicago after his tour of duty. He had opened up a shop and he was actually had his own business, and he kept asking us to come and live in Chicago because in the South there was no place for us. A very little, thing that we could do in order to advance ourselves. Although other people, did do things and they did advance themselves, but we was not that type person. So after being in Chicago for a while, I stopped going to church, period. So one day my mother said to me, when we was in the South, you used to go to church all the time, but now since we have moved to the North, you don't go to church anymore. And I said to her, Mama, this is what we call our mothers, Mama, when I find the religion that I think is true, I will accept it, and I will not be a hypocrite. So I guess that was more or less kind of a prayer, or something that I thought of at the time, because I really was looking for a religion that I could really embrace and feel comfortable with. So after not graduating from high school, I dropped out of school, and I was determined to get my high school diploma, so I went to night school and finished that up. So after doing the basic things that normally young men do, they actually get a job, and in other words, and start their lives. So in 1963, when the Cuban crisis came about with John Kennedy and Khrushchev about the missiles that he had wanted to place in Cuba, I was drafted under that Cuban crisis. So after spending 2 years in the military, I decided that I would pursue some type of education, some type of business, so I would not be involved in doing nothing with my life. So that was a brother by the name of Sultan Latif. We all lived in this building they call the Avon Building. It's a very famous building. I was associated with different people that was in the jazz world, and I was a jazz enthusiast. So the thing of it is that he asked me one day, and I was kind of fed up with some of the brothers that was in the building, and he had wanted to move out of there. So when he came to me and said to me that he had a place that he could move to, would I be willing to say to come and share it? Well, I said, sure. So I went to this place, and not knowing that he was Muslim at the time, he invited me to the mosque. So I said, sure. So that Sunday, there was a brother that was cooking food, say, to build a mosque, and he had called ahead of time to let them know that I will be coming as a guest. In other words, to prepare a plate for me. So it's kind of strange that I listened to the missionary. He gave it his normal sermon that most missionaries do, you know, when they have the program. And then someone went upstairs and called the azan. Now, when he went upstairs to call the azan, he was saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I thought it was kind of strange. In the sense that, let's face it, this guy, you know, he must be mad. Well, you know, what is wrong with him? He's mad, you know, up there hollering like this. So after he finished doing the azan, I went upstairs with them, and I didn't know anything about prayer. They lined up and said the prayer. So we came down after that and had the dinner. So we had the president, you know, he was talking to me about this and that and so on and so forth, and they gave me some literature to read. So at first, early in my life, I had looked at the Nation of Islam, but when I saw that this was not for me, I continued to search. So after reading some of the literature and all, and it really struck my heart to the extent that, in other words, boy, I had never heard these type things before. And then how simple it was, you know, for a person that was seeking the truth could understand it and embrace it. So that was, I would say, my first journey coming toward Islam. I didn't know anything about Ahmadiyya, and didn't know too much about Muslim groups except the Elijah Muhammad's group. But I knew that wasn't for me. So as I began to study, there was things that came across my mind. And not that I compare myself to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him, but one day I was working in this particular place, and I had an opportunity to read and do my work at the same time. So when I read about the way that the United States freed the slaves, it became very simple. And then other things that would come to me, and when I began to read it and understand it, it was more like cells had been activated in my brain that had never been activated before. So now I'm on a path. So I began to come to the mosque regularly. I began to study my prayers. I began to read the Holy Quran, and everything on a daily basis was coming clearer and clearer to me. So now, after I had been in Islam for about maybe 8 months or so, I was elected the president. So that's the early stage of my conversion to become the president of the Chicago Jamaat. In a sense of a person just walking off the streets, in a sense. So I began to engage myself as much as I could. I began to engage other people that did not accept me. I remember once during the Thanksgiving, my family used to have what they call a reunion or family, gathering, and they had wondered about me, so they definitely wanted me to come. So I came, and my sister-in-law was, I guess you would say at the time, was an evangelist. And then they began, I didn't know too much about, the arguments about Christianity and as opposed to Islam. But whatever I knew, I was able, say, to articulate it to the extent that I remember in reading in the Holy Quran about the number, one person, say, being able, say, to influence others. And that was sent, that was in the sense, that, your arguments would be of such that, in other words, the people around you, in other words, they would just not have any arguments. So after going on for about maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes, an hour, and so my sister-in-law said, she said, you know what? We have sat here all of this time. We have listened to him talk about his religion. Although he didn't know too much about it, but whatever he knew about it, he was able, say, to articulate that to us, whereby he didn't flinch, or he did not say, stand back, on what he believed, and so on and so forth. So I looked at that as being a miracle, that I was able, say, to defend my beliefs at the time, and I had much, much more, say, to learn. So, saying that I had became the president of the Chicago East Jamaat at the time, I began to just study, and later on I got married. I had 3 boys by the first marriage. That marriage failed, but anyway, got married again and had a daughter by my second marriage. So anyway, as I began to grow in Islam, and I began to understand the purpose of my existence, then I was able, say, to debate approach other people and try to explain to them this beautiful teachings that I had accepted, and I went on and on and on. So, to give you an example of time, right now I'm 81 years old, and I can say that I probably was the president of the Chicago Jamaat for about 55 years or more. The promise that I made to my mother was coming true. So, after accepting the religion that I thought was true, and not being a hypocrite, I was sure that I had arrived at the right place. Didn't know that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him, came for mankind. Didn't know anything about his deputy would be the promised Messiah in Mahdi, that was prophesied to come and to restore the pristine purity of Islam. So we're in small numbers. But if you look at history, and you look at the people that accepted the prophets of God, they was always in the minority. The point here I'm trying to make is that, as I see it, there has never been a time in history when prophets appeared on the face of the earth and they were sent to their people, to give them the message of Allah, they was always in the minority. To give an example, some people make the point, although this may not be correct, is that how many followers did Jesus convert? But in fact, they only mentioned, say, the 12 disciples. But the point of it is that that's not the point. The point is that when a person is inclined to Islam, or they inclined to righteousness, in other words, they take on this challenge and they do whatever they can in order to bring other people, say, into the fold. But as I said, that there's not many people, say, that are willing to accept the Islam or to accept religion anyway. When we look at the examples of the Christian faith, and the people, say, that are leading them, they make this particular mistake all the time. In the 10th commandment, there's a verse that says that thou shalt not place any other God before me. But when you go to the Christian services, they call on Jesus many, many, many times before they say anything about God. So that is actually putting Jesus before God. So throughout my life, I have tried to adhere to the teachings as the best I can. And out of those 2 marriages, I had 4 children. Unfortunately, none of my children except my daughter is still active in Jamaat. Now, it could be my fault, or it could be that when we read in the Holy Quran about the enemies in the household of the prophets of God, we find that in other words, they have even in their own house, and they are being prophets of God. They always have enemies. To give an example, when we talk about Pharaoh, his wife was a righteous person. But when we talk about other prophets, such as Noah, Prophet Noah, his wife also was an unrighteous woman. So I'm saying to you that even in your own household, you have goodness, righteousness, and evil and disbelief in the same space. But that shouldn't deter you, because if you believe that you was put here on this earth to serve your Creator and to accept Him as your Creator, you will find that people say that, but only a few are willing to accept it. Now, I would like to say this to a lot of my brothers and sisters, my converts, African Americans, or anyone else that have come, say, to the Jamaat. If you come to the Jamaat, you should come to the Jamaat with the good intent. You should not come to the Jamaat trying to make it the way that you want it to be. Because the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him, have already set the stage in which you say should follow. So in that sense, you have to look at it in the sense that when people come and accept the truth, sometimes they accept it for the wrong reasons. And let me explain to you my reason from a child. In all religion, heaven and hell is always talked about. And there are blueprint, if you want to go to the heavens, that you must follow. But Allah have created us as such. He have given us a choice. Either we can do His will, or we can do otherwise. So doing otherwise, meaning that other words, according to the afterlife, you will go to the hell. So when I looked at what hell looked like, there's no way that I was going to go there. So by accepting the truth and following the truth the best I can, hopefully that Allah will enter me into His paradise. And that was my own purpose of being. So I had to struggle like all other people had to struggle with little bits and pieces here and there. And the thing of it is that you don't take your eyes off of the prize. So I hope and pray that from a scale to 0 to 100, that I have done enough to get a passing grade to go to the paradise. And this is my prayer that I do every day. Oh Allah, I'm weak. I have no power. All of the power is in your hand. Forgive my sins. Overlook my shortcomings. And when I pass away, please enter me into your paradise. That is a prayer I pray every day. I pray for our prophets. I pray for the promised Messiah. I pray for the Holy Prophet Muhammad. May peace and blessings of God be upon him. And I pray for his caliphs. We are at a time now whereby our Khalifa, our fifth Khalifa, is on his way here to Chicago to inaugurate a mosque in Zion City that was controlled by Alexander Dowie. And if you know the history of Alexander Dowie, you would know that there was a mubatala, meaning that the promised Messiah was the representative of Allah, and Alexander claimed to be the representative. He never accepted the challenge, but the promised Messiah said to him, although you may not accept the mubatala, but we will put this in the hands of Allah and let Him be the judge. So this is the reason that we are here today, the 26th of September 2022, to inaugurate a mosque in a place where the person claimed to be the representative of Allah. Because when the news people began to get wind of all of this, they asked the question, why don't you accept this person, say, that have challenged you to a religious duel? His answer was that they are like gnats and flies. I would take my foot and crush them out. So the whole thing of it is that in New York City, Madison Square Garden, whereby he had gathered all of these people, he was there to speak to them. But Allah took away his speech. And he came back to Chicago, and the same foot that he said that he would just wipe them out like gnats and flies became all paralyzed. He was able only to move around with the servants that he had around him. In other words, this is the state of all of those individuals that claim to be from God and are not from God. So this is the reason that this particular place in mosque has been built to show that many, many years ago, the Mubahlah that was offered to him by the promised Messiah have come true. Now, when you look at the prophecy according to the promised Messiah, is that Allah revealed to him that I will cause that message to go to the ends of the earth. This prophecy has been fulfilled all over the world. 209 countries, people have heard the word of Ahmadiyya and have embraced it. Number-wise, we're not great in numbers, to be honest with you, but the point of it is that, let's face it, wherever we have gone and have presented to people the true teachers, you have always had those say that listened to it, heard it, understood it, and embraced it. So this particular place, 4448 South Wabash, was the first place that was purchased in the United States for the purpose of to glorify the name of God. Mr. Muhammad Sadiq purchased the place, and after he left, in other words, the message of Ahmadiyya continued. And it's continuing today. And it will always continue. I would just like to say that when we talk about truth and we talk about falsehood, throughout history, men that thought that they was almighty have told lies about the truth. I would just like to say, hopefully that the rest of my days, I hope that and pray that Allah will grant me peace, tranquility, and harmony, and hope that I would be of some service as best as I can to carry on, this message of peace and harmony. May Allah bless all of you, and please remember me in your prayers, because as I said, that I pray to Allah every day that when I pass away, I hope that I have done enough to enter His paradise.
MashaAllah, Brother Abdul Karim, a really inspiring and emotional journey you've had to Islam Ahmadiyya. Just a few questions for you so the viewers are more aware of your journey. If you can tell us about 2012, when you were able to spend so much time with beloved Azur and give him a tour of this mosque as well. How was that feeling?
You know, when the Khalifa goes to a place, everyone tries to explain to you how you should act and what you should do, so on and so forth. But what you have to do, you have to say to yourself, look, I'm just one individual. I'm going to do the best that I can, to accommodate him in the best manner. So this is what I did. Khalifa II Masih Rabi, I guess I spent more time with him than all the rest of the Khalifas, because when I accepted Islam in 1966, Khalifa II Masih the third was a Khalifa. So I've spent the third Khalifa, fourth Khalifa, and now we're on the fifth Khalifa. So I consider all of them to be rightly guided by Allah and the true representative of Allah on the face of this earth.
Inshallah. Really inspiring, Brother Abdul Karim. And Allah the Almighty has blessed one of your sons with martyrdom as well. And that's a story we would also like you to share with the viewers so they are more aware of his story.
You know, in your life, growing up and trying to balance life here and there and trying to do the things that is right, you always subject to mistakes. So my son Haman, because of a threat from some of the gangs, some of the people say that I wanted to do him harm. When he found out that this was the case and he was going to be killed, then at that point he came home and he was frightened. Allah saved him, and at that point he was more active than I. So the thing of it is that he was a good representation of what a young man in Islam should be. So anyway, only Allah knows how the true situation took place when he was martyred, but for sure, I believe that he was actually in a state of harmony with Allah when he was killed a few years ago.
Jazakallah, Brother Abdul Karim. And one more question to conclude this interview, and that is that what message would you give to the other Muslims? Why should they join Islam Ahmadiyya over other sects of Islam?
You know, there's a prophecy that the Muslim would act just like the Jews. When Jesus came, they were broken up into 72 sects. And when the Mahdi comes, they would be broken up into 73 sects. But only one would represent the true teachings of Islam. So this is not nothing new. It's always repetitive. That Allah have given us freedom. And unfortunately, some have abused that freedom. So the thing of it is, as I said, is that one should think in terms of, if they come to Ahmadiyya, they should come to Ahmadiyya with the purpose in mind of accepting the true Islam, and hopefully that Allah will have mercy on them when they pass away from this world and enter them into their paradise, his paradise.
Jazakallah, Abdul Karim said, MashaAllah, really inspiring journey, and we pray that Allah the Almighty grants you health and enables you to continue serving Him. And you inspired me a lot today. You mentioned that you're 82 years old and still you try your best to come to this mosque for every prayer, which is amazing and really inspiring for me, and I'm sure and certain that it will really inspire the other Muslim viewers as well. Once again, Brother Abdul Karim, may Allah bless you and grant you a long and healthy life, and enable us young Ahmadi Muslims to also follow your example in this and be regular in our prayers. And may Allah help us also be regular in coming to the masajid, the mosques, and for the worship of Allah. So once again, Brother Abdul Karim, Jazakallah khairan for your time today. May Allah bless you.
I would just like to make one point here before we leave. First of all, you should always say your prayers on time if possible. You should read the Holy Quran every day. That is your lifeline. Right now, I'm almost at the end of reading my Holy Quran so many times that I've gone through it. But it's impossible for me to absorb everything. So, in other words, sometimes when I go back reading certain surahs, in other words, it's repetitive. But the point of it is that I remember more at that point than I did before. So, I would say that please pray that you do those things. Get up for the Hajj if you can every day, and hopefully that Allah say will bless you, for your efforts. That's the only thing we can do. There's nothing else.
Jazakallah, Brother Abdul Karim, and we would request you in the end to give us a tour of this beautiful mosque. So if you can do that for us.
I will be more than glad to do so.
Jazakallah.
This is the area, I guess you would say the neutral area where the library is. Up here is a section where we have the first missionary, Mufti Muhammad Sadiq. This was a place that he purchased. This was a place that I came to. There was no physical attraction there. As you can see, it is almost a place that a person would never want to go in. But anyway, all of these are some of the different converts, throughout the years. This is Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Khamis in 2012 when he came to the Chicago area. And at the time, I was a sutter. So all I'm saying to you is that I took him on a tour of the place.
Amazing.
These are pictures of the Prince Messiah along with all his caliphs.
Amazing. MashaAllah.
And then let's go in here. This is the mosque area where we have our Jummah and other activities. Behind the curtains, if you'd like to come, we can show you the license area. This is the license area. In this area here where we are was the actual area where the building was. This old building, this is where it was.
Yeah.
So we were able to go all the way to the street level here.
MashaAllah.
Up to the area that we had purchased in order to make this place big enough, for our needs.
Yeah. Perfect. So there's also a library as well, but there's a lot of boxes there.
There's a lot of boxes there. As a matter of fact, as you don't know,
yeah.
I'm going to open it up so you can see it.
Okay.
This is a library. This is historic.
MashaAllah.
Although you can't see most of the books that's being obstructed by the books here, but the point of it is that the brother Oran Nur Ahmed Makin was the one that developed this library. There are historical books in Arabic. You have a set of the Muslim sunrise. that started in 1906, and they was found on in the library of one of the universities.
MashaAllah.
So he got those printed and bounded. No other place, other than perhaps maybe the center, has a copy of these whereby you can do research. We've had people that have come here and did research on, Islam.
MashaAllah.
Ahmadiyya.
Yeah. And you have Arabic commentaries as well. You even have Tafsir at-Tabari, MashaAllah.
Yes.
That is amazing, really inspiring.
So we have Arabic and Urdu here. Arabic and Urdu. So people say that of scholarly natures that want to come and do research, they can come here and do research.
Perfect, brother. Jazakumullah for this amazing tour. I hope that the viewers benefit and learn a little more about Masjid as-Sadiq. Jazakallah, brother Abdul Karim.
No problem, no problem.
If you have not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon so you can get notifications for every new video. Also make sure to like and comment on the video and follow on Twitter and Instagram.
صل على سفينا صل على محمد